Hello and welcome to Immortal Behaviour for this week.
Many ways to win a game. Get your team home as a halfback. He won the game with his kicking game.
Andrew kicks back and across. It has been a freakish kick by Andrew John.
I thought he'd maybe retire, but forgive me, Father, for I have said.
Maybe God has come to Marathon.
Hello and welcome to Immortal Behaviour, a special edition because it's Beanie for Brain Cancer Round, and a special edition because Danica Mason's, it's a week off again, isn't it?
Is she out west somewhere?
I'm not too sure where she is, working on a secret project, but she's got a good lifestyle, Joey.
Oh, no.
1 week on, 1 week off,
Life
chooses
of
when she
Riley.
wants to come in.
Whatever that means. I don't know who that Riley was, but life of Riley.
Plenty coming your way.
He must have had a good life, Riley, back in the day.
Plenty coming your way. We're going to focus on 3 or 4 players. Carter Gordon of the Titans, we'll get to that. Ben Hunt probably staying at the Dragons, and Nathan Cleary to be fit for Origin 3, we're hearing. But let's start off with Brandon Smith. Is the cheese going off at Bondi Junction?
Mouldy cheese.
He's been dropped this week after missing his mid-season review. They gave him a breach. He said that it was a genuine mistake, left his phone at home, forgot about it. What do you make of the Roosters' decision to come down and say, right, you're not playing this week?
Well, there's always 3 sides to every story. Their side, the other person's side, and the truth. But look, if the rumours are true, there's some personal stuff going on with Brandon. But you can't speculate if they're true. But if he's bouncing off walls and having some dramas, hope he gets the help he needs. Good fellow, we all know that. He's a real character, but with that, they sail close to the wind and they need it to be managed sometimes. So maybe this is the kick in the backside he needs.
And he spoke openly about that. He said, look, it's made him focus on the things that are important. Yeah. Like, some players don't need that kick. Is Brandon a player that needed that?
Well, as I said, he's a character. Everyone knows he's a character, so he sails close to the wind. It's probably a time where he needs to reset and get focused again. But as I said, the rumours floating around, there's some personal issues going on, which is no one's business. And just hopefully sorts it out, because everyone loves him in the game. He's such an infectious character, and he's great for the game. So hopefully he gets stuff sorted out, because we love him.
When you speak about flying close to that line, that's the beauty of Brandon, though, isn't it? Because whether it's in the media, like straight after a grand final, his rawness, whether it's us going to speak to him, I love the fact that he's not afraid to speak his thoughts and be Brandon, rather than putting on the mask of, hey, I've got to say everything.
Especially these days,
it's tough.
A lot of people, a lot of players have got their guard up like that, where he's as honest as they come. And spoke before, they're very rare these days. The players that say what they think, which sails close to the wind, they can offend people, but they don't care. It's what they think.
Okay.
So we love Brandon. Get it sorted. Love seeing getting back.
What about purely Brandon the footballer? Did the Roosters sign Brandon Smith for what he showed at Melbourne a couple of years ago, or did Trent Robinson, you think, saw something in him and it could put him into a role that he'd never played?
When at Melbourne, he was playing between dummy half and that running lock position. But they've purely seen him as a dummy half. He's not one of those players like an Ep08 who gets out of dummy half, or a Wade Egan and plays with the markers and the subtlety around the ruck. He's just a get out and run, or he passes the ball straight off the ground. So I think they're still working out how to play with him and how to play with different halves. Their halves have chopped and changed this year. They had Cleary was out for a while. Sam Walker was out for a while, back in. Sandon Smith sometimes was there. So
Connor Watson's been there
Connor
at
Watson's
times.
been there. But he's a class player. They'll work it out. They're a great club, great coach.
Okay, so he's 2 years. He's in his second year of a 3-year deal. He's taken a player option for next year.
Yeah.
When he said they're still working out, like, he's been there for a while. Like Roosters,
Gets away. I thought it was his first year.
No, it's second year there.
Yeah.
So, like, it's I guess the Roosters fans' frustration is you sign a player who at his best at hooker, whether it's for the Kiwi. I mean, some games he's played for the Kiwis, it's like this guy is one of the best nines in the comp.
He just gets out and little piggy runs.
Yeah.
That's his strength. And once again, they're still trying to work it out. He's working out combination. I know it's been 2 years, but be patient. Look, I have no doubt they're going to be there at the end of the year. And winning takes it all away.
And the best of Brandon Smith as a Rooster is yet to come?
For sure. And there's once again, there's been rumours of personal dramas, so that's a really real distraction for him. So, get your life sorted away from footy and your footy improves. So, once again, good luck, Brendan. We all love you. Get back to Brandon of old.
Yeah, we love Brandon Smith at his best, behind the camera, in front of the camera, on the footy field, all the above. Speaking of luck, I guess good luck to Carter Gordon, who's signed with the Titans from next year for 2 years. For anyone that doesn't know much about him, he's played 8 tests for the Wallabies. He's been with the Melbourne Rebels for 4 years. Of course, they're no longer going to be in the Super Rugby. Have you seen much of him? He played 2 games of the World Cup under Eddie Jones.
Eddie got me in last year.
Down at Coogee.
Down at Coogee.
Yeah, I was there.
To have a look at their 10s and their 5-10s, which is their 5-8. And he was there, and I was quite impressed with Carter. But it's a totally different game. Look, the skill set's there. He's catching and passing. What I was surprised, he's pretty big. He's a bigger body. So it'll be interesting to see where Des plays him, whether it's 5'8", whether it's at 6 or lock. Plenty of skill, but it's going to be it's a real challenge.
Yeah.
I don't know how much rugby league he's played. A lot of the union boys have played both. A lot of, they go to schools where it's the private schools where it's rugby union, but then they play league on the other day. But I don't know too much about Carter. But Des would have done his homework, understand how he trains, and looked at how he plays and the skill set, and made a decision, rolled the dice. So good luck to him.
Okay, so you speak about the challenge or challenges. When you come from one code to another, you almost went the other way. Yeah. We've seen a lot of players do it successfully, and we've seen others not transition successfully. What is the biggest challenge, do you think, a playmaker from one code to the other code is?
Well, you talk to players who swap between codes. I've only really spoke to league players who've gone to union. They said it looks the same, the skill set's the same, but it's such difference. The ins and outs and the nuances of the play, when to move the ball, when to kick. It's a whole new game. So it's going to be a challenge for Carter. It'll be a real challenge to understand what his role is to start with, then work on his combinations and work on what plays and how he plays suits the way he plays, but then how it suits if he's playing with Dave Fafita, if he's playing with those speed men. They've got plenty of speed out wide, Titans, Jojo Fafita and Khan Pereira and those players. How he brings them into play. So it's a big off-season for the Titans, and they've rolled the dice. Another big area is fitness. It's a totally different fitness base. There's a lot of stoppages in union where league, it's all up and back, off the ground, and the ball can stay in play upwards of 5, 6, 7 minutes, which they don't get that in rugby union. So first things first, physically, he's going to have to really rip into training. Mark Gasnier spoke about just how different it was. He said there was games, Gaz played in France in the centres, he said there's games where he wouldn't touch the ball for 20, 30 minutes. And it's just such a different game. Interesting to where they see him playing. Yeah,
just on that point, so you spoke about the Roosters having injuries forcing their spine changes. The Titans, I feel like they've had 5 or 6 different options in there. So Kieran Foran, this may be his last year.
Yeah.
Most likely. Most likely. You've got Tanner Boyd that's been in and out. You've got AJ Brimson, who's now signed a 6-year deal with the Titans moving forward. Yeah, monster deal. For a player who has shown he's a gun, but injuries has held him back.
He needs a dominant halfback. He can't play first receiver. He needs a dominant halfback. So
and then you've got Jaden Campbell.
Well, he's fullback.
He's fullback.
So moving forward, next year, all going well, I'd see Jaden Campbell at fullback, I had Brimson at 6, Kieran Foran at 7, and maybe Carter Gordon at 13. Because I said he's a bigger body, he's well over 6 foot and be mid 90 kilos. It feels like Kieran's been around forever and his body keeps breaking down. Then Tanner Boyd comes in. Who's the other young bloke's been playing? Was it
Weaver?
Weaver, yeah. I haven't seen enough of the young halfback Weaver. I think Tanner Boyd's a solid player. But it's interesting where Des sees Carter. Whereas he sees him as a 5'8". I don't think he's not a fullback. So 5'8" or lock. Interesting to see.
Yeah, and it is on a lot. Apart from Foz there, all those players, they're not that dominant half. They've got their own skill set. So if Foz isn't there, Do they then have to
Probably
recruit
get
it?
a tenor boy. Well, mate, there's none around.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
I know Des always has a plan, right?
Yeah, I know, there's always a plan.
and he thinks about things differently.
Des would have done his homework.
Yep.
He'd know about the ins and outs of Carter and his strengths and weaknesses and what he needs to, and then the strengths and weaknesses of the other players. Be good to talk to Des actually and see where he sees and how they're going to play.
The Des you see on camera, or you might know, and the Des off camera.
Well, I worked with Des for a few years when he was at Manly, when Kieran and Cherry Evans first started.
It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, it's just
like it's all a game to
it's
him.
a facade.
And being the alpha and in control everywhere, and the umming and ahhing, he knows it makes an editor's or a journo's nightmare. And I love it when he goes, "All right, camera's off. You want to talk about obstruction now? Here are my thoughts." And it's like a 10-minute monologue of how to fix it. I'm like, that would be fascinating if fans got that insight. But
I don't think Des sleeps like them all. Super coach has gone mad.
So Carter Gordon to the Titans, Mark Nawaqanitawase to the Roosters.
I actually saw Mark yesterday. I had a good chat to him.
Yeah, okay.
And I spoke to him about rugby league. He played rugby league coming through in the Balmain. Leichhardt, someone.
Yep, with Adam Dewey coming through the system.
He didn't say that. He just said he played a heap of league. Geez, a big man.
He's an impressive unit, yeah.
So he's Fijian. His father's Fijian and his mum's Italian.
Yep.
But he's got the thick set. He plays at about 105 kilos. It's going to be a lot easier for Mark to learn the game because purely he'll be a winger and his job will be bring the ball out of trouble. Physically, he looks really fit.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a really good sign. I was surprised just how big he is. It's real thick set, like a lot of Fijians. And you see the Fijian boys, especially when they come out from the islands, once they start eating good food and doing weights, they just go, they explode.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot easier for Mark. I actually got him to pronounce his name to me a few times.
You've got to get used to it. I know. I only know. I did a feature with him last year. Mark Nawaqanitawase.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that what he said? Yeah.
But there's certain words where they roll their R's. And said, mate, you know I'm going to butcher it. Tell your family already. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why he's got the fitting nickname of Marky Mark.
Marky Mark. That'll be him.
Easy.
It's like Big Stefano. Big Tino is another one.
Nelson.
Big Nelson, another one.
Fatties are special for those.
Yeah.
He doesn't even try.
Oh,
but we do love all the...
It's very hard. And look, they understand the boys.
Yeah.
But Carter Gordon, huge challenge. I look forward to how it goes, where Mark, it's going to be a lot easier playing on the pick and swing.
All right, what about Ben Hunt at the Dragons? I feel like this is a narrative that has just swapped and changed over the last couple of years. He wanted it out. He wanted out publicly. I think it was after Origin last year, Origin 2.
Oh, it
came out.
Winning helps.
But publicly came, I don't know if I've ever seen a player, but I want out as a captain.
Yeah.
Then Flano arrives, convinces him to stay, and now there's talk that it's basically a formality that he's going to get an extension. What does that say about Shane Flanagan, I guess, as the coach, as the man manager, which that's a word we hear a lot in rugby league?
Well, he's a winner. He's won a comp. And I've no doubt Ben can see a clear future. I think last year when they were struggling and treading water, not only last year, a couple of years, it would have been frustrating because he competes. It doesn't matter where he plays or how he plays or what position he plays and where they are on the table, if it's raining or it's sunny. He just does the same thing. He's tough, he competes. But winning helps. Winning helps. You get to training, it's so much easier. Everyone's happier. Everyone's up and about. But no doubt the winning helps and he can see a clear future, definitely. They've been good, the Dragons. They've been really good.
Last
really
week in
consistent.
particular, yeah.
Well, last week they didn't beat much. 44 points in the second half. It was, the Tigers gave up. Interesting this week, the Tigers playing the Titans. Sometimes it's not about how far you fall, it's how far you bounce. It's not bad, is it? That was good.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
One place to get it, Immortal Behaviour every week, every Thursday.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, so they haven't had much success in the past, the Dragons. They've changed coaches from Paul McGregor, Anthony Griffin, now Shane Flanagan. Can they be a force or competitive? Okay.
Not for a while.
And why is that? They've got, and just noting that they're losing Zach Lomax, who's a big out, but they've got no fresh signings for 2025 as it stands.
And it feels like Makali Ravalawa, butchered. he got suspended for a long time, I think, in New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
He seems like he's on the outer there a little bit. They got Jacob Little at dummy half. I'd like to see him go after another dummy half. The one who, when he comes off contract, Harry Grant, he could get ginormous offers, absolutely ginormous offers. And one thing about Harry, what he could be attracted to is a place with good surf. So Newcastle's good, Harry. I'll sort you out. The boys will take you surfing. But yeah, I see dummy half as a position they need to go after a really top line. Top line.
Yeah.
So what, Ben Hunt? I reckon Ben Hunt's he'll sign for another 3 years. He just keeps.
He's
it's
daily
like
Cherry Evans-esque.
Same thing. He just keeps getting better and better. Once again, doesn't matter where he plays. He just competes. He's tough. Give him the ball. Something happens.
When you look at a player like Zach Lomax, so do you think the Dragons look at him now going, they have seen that potential for so long because they've paid him well, and coaches previous and current have moved him around a lot, but his development this year, like
in Origin 1, he was like that. He was New South Wales best. He was in everything. Bring the ball out of trouble. He douched Cherry Evans once, went straight over the top of him. He chases kicks. He's a different player this year. Now, I was scratching my head. I was like, why are they putting him on the wing? Not a winger. But then it's been a masterstroke. Once again, an experienced coach who's a winner, and Shane Flanagan has made a big decision, and it's improved him out of sight. He's gone for a player with great potential to a real top-line star in about 2 months this year. How long are we going? 3 months maybe. It's totally changed the way he plays. He just looks a different player.
But
even the way he carries himself, you know, he's always had a bit of strut in him, real confidence, a bit of swagger. But just seems this year his confidence has just gone bang.
it's like it seems like what he's producing this year is what everyone, including yourself, like Freddie, had him around the blue side for a while, had always seen but had never delivered. And I find it fascinating.
Consistently, we've seen it.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen back to back to back to back. We've seen it this year. What are we up to, round 15?
Yeah.
He's been one of the best players in every game.
But
big loss.
what I find fascinating is that, like, I sat down with him at the start of the year. We do all the pre-season shoots here, and I don't know if I've ever seen a player more frustrated with. You started pre-season at centre, then you went to fullback, then you went to the wing, and you talk about a player like normally life's good off field, you get on with the coach and you play your best footy. I thought, geez, it could be a long year for Zach Lomax, but he's just gone boom.
Good on him.
And on the biggest stage of Origin.
He could have kicked stones and gone to his manager and I want out. Well, I know he signed with another club. Which Parramatta, I think, whoever they get to coach, with their roster, if they get it right, they're a top 8 team. But he's a big loss, Lomax. Big loss. Does a lot for that team.
All right, let's turn our focus to Nathan Cleary. You've spoken a fair bit about Origin on Freddie and the Eights, so we'll just focus on Nathan for now. Gus reckons he's very close to returning, so it could be next weekend. Would you put him straight back into Origin?
Yeah.
With one, maybe, game under his belt?
You'd have to ask how much training he's done. I've never done a hamstring. It's too slow. Mine are about that long. Stumpy legs. Interesting to see how much running he has done, how much fitness. Look, Nathan keeps himself in good nick, but you'd have to have a look at him. You'd have to play a couple of games before you picked him. But if he's performing, pick him for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So let's throw one thing at you. If it's a dead rubber,
Yeah.
still pick him?
Yeah. For sure. There's no dead rubbers when you're playing. You just want to keep winning. Especially going up there. You go up there, you don't want to get beat up there. They're not going to. There's not going to be a dead rubber. Trust me.
Okay. So in that case,
Yeah.
say Mitch Moses
Yes.
plays
Shoots the
game
light
2,
out. Yep.
shoots the lights out, leads the Blues to a big victory in Melbourne. You've got a fit Nathan Cleary, you've got a fit Mitch Moses. They're both in form. Is it Nathan in?
I'd pick them both. And they'll work out how to play amongst themselves. From a technical point of view, I'm astonished still that the last 20 minutes of that game in the grand final, Jack Cogger came on and played first receiver and Nathan played out the back. Now I think it's the Moses Leota try that's got him back. Nathan got the ball on that second layer of attack, show and go. Ezra Mann fade out, he ran, passed back in. And then there was another try where Nathan came on the back of Isaiah, but Jack Cogger was first receiver. they'd work him out amongst themselves, Moses and Cleary. Who'd be the dominant player? Who'd play on board? Nathan would obviously do a lot of the kicking, but they'd share it around. I think I'd like to see how they go together.
Would that have been if all players fit going into Origin 1?
I would have picked everyone available. I would have gone Nathan Cleary and Cody Walker. Cody unlocks the left-hand side. And in game 1 there was a lot of balls that hit the ground when we were going to our left. There was, without being too technical, when they'd have a shot down the side of the field, there was no shot coming back. There was no jab, knockout punch on a big play. It was just jab and away, and then get there, and then, we get the ball back and there was nothing organised. One thing about Cody, when the ball goes away, Cody's not chasing the ball. He holds here and he's organising his back row, he's organising his fullback, he's organising his centre or his winger. Game 3 last year, he lit up that left side. He got man of the match. I think every try we scored was down the left side. We scored 2 down the left side out of a car, the kick and chase. Did Bradman score one in the first half? I know in the second half he unlocked Teddy. We scored that long try with Bradman scored once again. So if everyone was fit, even though he's struggling Cody, he's a big game player, I would have went Cleary and Cody. I'd even pick Cody for game 2. If Moses plays well, and once again I've said it's Moses' position to lose, I would actually go Moses and Cody for game 2. They played together last year in game 3 and they combined really well.
Okay, so back to that point, if they both play, if Cody and say
Mitch play
game 2 and they win?
No, I wouldn't change.
That's the one combo you wouldn't change.
No.
Do you think
was Nathan been out? Just like 8 weeks or something?
But I think it's also the fact that he did it earlier, came back had a week, played against the Cowboys, had a rest, came back, did it again against the Dragons, I think it was.
A lot of
and then he's gone
playmakers
again.
around this time break down. Like Freddie broke down at this age, groins. Myself, I broke down with groins. I missed about 18 months of footy, in and out, but then it just wasn't right in the late 90s. And Freddie was the same. He sort of went through it in the mid-90s. He had a lot of groin problems, and Cameron Munster at the moment, he's got a bad hip and groin, and Nathan's going through it now. So he's just got to be smarter the way he trains, and always extra kicking. Imagine over the years how much kicking and how much load he's put on that right leg. From the age of 10, 12, Nathan would be kicking 50 to 100 balls a day. Times that by 7, 5, 6, 700. Times that by how many weeks in the year, then times that 10, 15 years. How much load he has put on this side of the body.
I think he's spoken about that since his latest injury, saying I need to change that, because he thought extras was just do extras because I've got to do extras.
Well, you can when you're young, but eventually the body starts to break down, which it has with Nathan. So he's just got to be smarter with it, and he's smart. He'll work it out.
Do you think Penrith would stand in his way for playing Origin if they... Or do you see, where Nathan goes,
his dad's the coach. Maybe,
tough combo.
Maybe over a steak Diane, they'd be sitting there and he'd go, Nathan, come on, mate. Sit this one out. I reckon if he comes back from a week, I think without doubt the club would talk to Nathan and say, mate, we don't think you're ready. And he'd be smart about it. He wouldn't put himself in that position where he tears it again, but also becomes a burden for the Blues team if he goes down early. It's interesting, though.
You know more than or better than most about comebacks in Origin, though.
Yeah.
Like it'd be so tempting if it's 1-1, get the call. Sure. Like that's set up for Nathan. It's a game that some of the best players ever, yourself, Alfie, Freddie, they've come back, and they're the moments that everybody remembers.
And I have no doubt Nathan puts his head on the pillow some nights and just thinks about Origin, because the knock on Nathan is he's won grand finals, he's won 2 Clive Churchill, but he hasn't owned an Origin series. So if he did come back in that game, 3, and then especially if New South Wales, when they win in Melbourne, clinch the series, it's his legacy. But this is the time for the next 3-4 years. This is going to be Nathan's best if the body holds up. I've no doubt he'll do it at Origin.
All right, more immediate things. Beanie for Brain Cancer Week. It's seriously one of the best things that rugby league does. It's one of the best weeks of the year. Spoke to Mark Hughes yesterday, and he said, "Isn't it great? Like, he doesn't know of anywhere else in world sport where like every team gets on board, wears Beanie out, and runs out with it." How proud as a former teammate, someone that you're really good mates with, to see Mark this week, and he said it's their Mark Hughes Foundation. They're working tirelessly all year, but this is their grand final week.
Yeah, it's hard to describe just how proud, not only myself, but all our former teammates are. We're still very close. All the guys we played with and won competitions in Newcastle. And when he got diagnosed, it was like everyone, not only from the Knights, but it felt like the whole community, Newcastle and the Hunter region where he was from, up around Curry and Cessnock and those areas, they just rallied around Mark because the player he is and the person he is, probably number one who stood right up was Paul Harrigan. When Mark was talking about doing the foundation, Chief was someone who just jumped straight on board because he's our spiritual leader in Newcastle and has since day one. When you talk about the Knights and leadership, it's Paul Harrigan, daylight second. Billy Peden, who we're great mates with, he's pretty much done every challenge. He's doing the walk now, so he's jumped on board. You know who was really huge early on? Jonathan Thurston. JT jumped right on board, and he really delivered, especially from a Queensland point of view. But we're also proud of him. Everyone loves him. No one's got a bad word to say about Mark Hughes, and raised over $30 million. And once again, he does not draw a wage from it. He doesn't take any money, and he gets out and he'll go to Cessnock on a Tuesday night, and there's 5 netters who have knitted, handkerchiefs, and they've raised $400. He'll go and thank them, and that's the person he is. $30 million. $30
million.
And he said he won't rest till there's a cure.
Yeah, and more than a million beanies sold.
Over a million.
Yeah, and speaking to Mark yesterday, he said it's funny. Someone asked him, look, when was the seed planted for something like this? And he said 24 hours before his first operation.
Oh, really?
He said everyone else was worried about just getting through it, and he goes, I've got to, like something just changed in me.
Yeah.
I want to use my position. Like he didn't know what life was going to be like post-operation.
Yeah.
And it's just
it was a crazy time. Because he was quite positive, Mark. But the family, obviously Dr. Google, people get on Google, and it was really tough. I know his wife, Kira Lee, went through, it was an awful time for the whole family. But the way he's turned this terrible time into some sort of positive just goes to show the character of Mark Hughes.
The Wolf Pack, you spoke about the old pack up there. I've done a story previously, Every morning or every 3 times a week at Merriweather, there's Chief, there's Bill Peden, there's Mark, Danny Badeiros, Kurt Gidley, Crowie, Steve Crow's in and out. And the one thing that Mark always says whenever you interview him, he said it's more than a beanie. He said it's a symbol of hope for so many. And even today, like I was sitting at our cafe down the beach and I saw 7 different people wearing a beanie from across the years, not just the fresh one, and it's almost like a nod or a smile to each other, going, "You're on board a great cause."
It's transcended rugby league or sport. Now it's gone past that, and in that time of absolute chaos, not only the Knights boys but the whole community rallied around Mark. And I spoke to him the other day about it. He said when he played, going to schools and going to see sick kids in hospital, he was one always putting his hand up. And look, when you're training and you're away and you're away from family and you're carrying injuries, sometimes going to schools and seeing kids, it can be a bit of a pain in the backside and there's things you'd rather do. But he was always one putting his hand up. So he feels like that karma he gave to the Newcastle and the Hunter community is coming back to him now. Pretty special. It is
special. And another person who was strongly behind the launch of Beanie for Brain Cancer Roundup, which is in its 8th year now, is former 9 NRL chief executive producer Matt Callender, and you're close with him.
He's another special
If
guy.
He's looking down right now and seeing what this has become, like the Callender, like Matty works here at 9, and we all know Kenny, and like what would he be thinking right now about what he started?
Proud. Not only that, of the whole family, the way they've rallied around. And during this time, they give their time all the time. As you said, Matty Callender works here. He's doing a great job. Such a cool girl. And I see their son Digger out in the surf all the time. He's a fine young fella. They're just such a great family. And then once again, around the eastern suburbs, it's like indirectly they know everyone knows the Callender family. And once again, they rallied behind him. And through the Calendar family and the Mark Hughes family, they're not going to rest until they're secure.
Yep.
Because understand, over 30 years, nothing has changed.
There's essentially been
Nothing has changed.
No.
So, it's. I think when they first started, they had one doctor maybe working for them, and now it's exploded.
Yeah.
But he's not going to rest.
No.
So get out and buy the beanie.
Yep.
It's funny. I always like the female ones.
Well, that's why I bought that one. I got that
like
one,
the
yeah.
female one. It's really good.
There's a brown option. I don't know if you can
Well,
call
my
it
missus likes the brown one.
That's why I think they're called unisex.
AC/DC.
Lowe's, IGA,
Yep.
Mark Hughes Foundation website, and all the games
And
across
all
the
games.
weekend.
So he'll be at Cronulla tonight.
Cronulla
I just
tonight.
spoke to him actually. He's had a big morning going to various IGAs down in the Shire and some Lowe's. He's going to have a lay down. He's a bit knackered, the boy.
But never says no.
Never-
Regardless
never
of his
says
energy,
no.
like, says yes to everything.
And I've actually spoke to him about it. I said, mate, you're wearing yourself into the ground. He goes, mate, I've got to do it. And he said, everywhere I go, sometimes he said, I start to waver. And someone will come up and tell me the story about their uncle or their father or their son, and they break down in tears and they're thanking him. And he goes, that's why I'm doing it. This is why I'm doing it. So he's having to lay down now, and then he'll be at PointsBet, and then I think he's at Combank tomorrow night. And then obviously the big one is when everyone who's walking from Sydney to Newcastle will be up there Sunday at Donald Jones.
Yeah, 65 trekkers, 150 odd K,
Yeah.
the big three trek, raising money as well. But $25 you can spend, it's a small price to pay really for what is an incredible cause.
I know it's tough for people at the moment with cost of living and everything. I mean, even if you can't buy a beanie, just put $5 in there.
Well said.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. Go buy a beanie if you can and enjoy Beanie for Brain Cancer Round.
Cheers.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action. 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour. Grab a seat on the couch for that. And, of course, my favourite, Freddie and the Eight.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm. Subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.